When I haven't practiced a skill for a while, I have a bit of a workshop here. So today, on top of the plastering wall, I'm going to be doing some tiling. So let's see how we get on. Okay, so that's the first bit of practice done. What you can see here is there's a batten that's running along here that's all nicely squared off. And then I've been using the method of applying the tile adhesive onto the back of the tile individually and adding it on, cutting as I go up each row. Now that's a lot slower, but it can be tidier in terms of the application area. The next method I'll be using is where I'll be putting the adhesive straight onto the wall, notching it out, and then putting the tiles onto there. Okay, that's the next 2 rows set using that method. It's a lot more efficient. The only thing you have to be careful of is, because you've smeared it on, you have to ensure that these spaces are clear so that the grout can go in. What I prefer to do is use one of the spacers and just run it along and scoop out that tile adhesive as you go. Here we are the next day, and as you can see, I've removed all the spacers and given the face of the tiles a good clean, leaving nice deep spaces for the grout to go into. So the next thing to do is get that mixed up and applied. So at this point now I'm just applying the grout. I've got it on the float and I'm just pushing it with a couple of moves into each of these grout lines, trying to fill it as much as possible, keeping it off the tile where I can. With the grout now fully in all of the grooves, it's now time just with the float to get the majority off the face of these tiles. With the majority of that done now, we're just going to give it around 10 to 20 minutes until this becomes a state where when we push it nothing happens. We don't want it to smear. So we're going to move on to the first stage, which is the first diagonal wipe down, just to clean out the joints. Just like so, just coming across the tile, just a little bit of water on, cleaning out those grout lines. Keep rinsing it off until it gets pretty neat. Now, as you can see, at this point you're going to get that smearing across the tiles because as you're wiping the joints, the grout is still a little bit wet. But in between now and that next 15 minutes, you can use something like this. It's a grout finger. I can just run it down there and it just smartens it up. So at this point I've got some fresh water, and with the sponge again, I'm going to be just taking this hazing off the tiles all the way along using the clean water. So that's the second wipe down complete. You really want to be wringing out the sponge and not introducing any water, because you're not trying to take any more of that grout out. You're just getting rid of as much of that surface haze. Now we wait probably another 30 minutes or so. At this point we can just take the microfiber cloth, give all the tiles a nice polish, and here we go. Here's the final result. I think it's come out really nicely. Obviously it's just a very small sample and it's a bit of practice. The top tip when doing this kind of stuff is it's all about timing. Don't take on more than you can handle, stay on top of the tiling, and that way you'll just get a really nice result. I hope you've enjoyed the tips, and I'll catch you in another